The 2018 NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires here at the Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas. I'm John Lindsay alongside Jeff Pitts. Say good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Jeff.
There you go. We are on the case here. We have our first qualifying session. This is a qualifying session for our, look at that. Now, there's
still going.
I'd like to say there's something you don't see every day, but that would be wrong.
Well,
because
maybe not
someone
every
forgot
day.
their hood pins. They didn't have their Sanka this morning.
It happens. It happens.
Well, you add some letters on there, and that happens. So, as we said, we are here at the Circuit of the Americas. This is the qualifying session for our Group 1 or our Group A.1, I guess we would call it. We have so many Miatas here, we had to split them into two groups, and they are out there. This is going to be the session that sets their times for the Toyo Classic this afternoon at 2:45 Central Time. So right now they are just warming up. It is a little bit moist out here. We are seeing a lot of precipitation coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. And we are going to see different weather conditions all day, so that will be a challenge for us here. But we will be coming to you live all day. But this is our qualifying session. You can see the view there. That's quite a lot of wow. That's a lot of
some moisture on the screen
well,
there.
there's definitely moisture or very large amoebas, one of the two.
Well, John, these Miatas, in fact, I believe both Miata groups had a chance to qualify in the dry yesterday.
Right.
So this will be their first wet session, wet-timed session at least.
Right.
So we're going to see what these guys are made of in the wet. I know we've got people from all over the U.S. here and all different types of, used to racing in all different types of conditions. So we're going to see who shines and who has trouble out here.
And who gets shined.
That's right.
So we do have wet qualifying conditions. Now, as I understand things, the qualifying sessions the last 2 days for these folks are only setting what the order that they went out in today, and then this session is the one that's going to set the grid for this afternoon's big race. So what an interesting thing that it is absolutely, pretty moist. We've got lots of challenging track conditions, so we've been seeing a fast time. I believe it was in the low 2:42s. That's 2 minutes and 42 seconds, but it's going to be nowhere near that today. So I would wager that the racers that come from regions where it regularly rains are going to be way ahead, and probably the Texas locals as well. We know that Mr. Haldeman is out there for the X Factor Racing. He's a local, and his experience with the weather, I think the Florida boys will have an advantage. Danny Stain will definitely have an advantage. I believe he was hoping for rain last time I spoke with him. So we will see what transpires as they come around for their first lap. Again, this is the one that is setting the positions for the big races this afternoon.
And because we do have both types of events going on today, I guess it bears mentioning here that this is a qualifying session where it's going to be for time. They are not running for position out there. Some of the other events we're going to see today are going to be qualifying races. This is just a qualifying session. Also, John, we were talking a bit about Daniel Williams yesterday. He's our regional director for Spec Miata. He's back out there today. He's in first place, at least when they ticked over the timing lights on their way out. So we were speculating why he wasn't part of the second qualifying yesterday.
Well, I think he did all the work he needed to do to get a good position for today. But then it goes and rains, so and he's out of I believe he's out of the Rocky Mountain region, so it doesn't rain a whole lot up there. It snows like crazy, but not a lot of rain. All right, folks, so they are coming around. Right now you can follow along. If you go to nasachampionships.com, you obviously managed to make it here, so you may also want to follow along with our timing, which you can do so live. RaceHero.io is providing the timing, and there is a link there on the main page. You can click, and you'll be right there to follow along and see who clicks off the fastest laps in this first qualifying session of the day here on Saturday at the Circuit of the Americas. Right outside Austin, Texas. We've had great Texas barbecue for a few days. Interesting weather. And a world-class circuit. Oh, look at this. Now, that's something you don't want to do. You don't want to get out in that paint. See how it unsettles the cars when you get on the paint, that slippy stuff? And then those bumps, you can see if you look real close on your screen, kind of get your face right up next to the screen, you see those little bumps that are in there. That is FIA-style curbing, and that's really going to upset the car. But everybody's getting out there, which I don't know why you'd want to try that out in a qualifying session. Maybe a practice, but qualifying?
Well, I mean, if they're going to turn one hot lap, that's all that matters out here. I do see a lot of guys testing the painted surfaces out there, maybe
Right.
just to see just how slippery they are.
And then get after. I think that's Danny Stain right there in the car with the orange nose that came around. I think I remember his paint job from last year. You could see he had his wipers on high and he was getting with it. Ooh, look at that little drifto. There we have that. Oh, yeah, definitely getting with it.
Oh, yeah.
So they know they're coming in for their first flyer. We do have Danny Stain across the line first, so that wasn't Danny because we were looking at the backside of the course. Danny is our top qualifier so far in this group with a 257.571. Boy, way off.
We're pretty far off that 242 mark.
Well, but it's wet. Now watch, it's wet for this, and then it dries out. So the rain specialist qualifies well, and then in the race it dries out.
We'll
Or
see.
it rains even harder.
It very well could work out that way. I mean,
Well-
I've heard forecasts of 100% chance for rain after 12 p.m., but, it has been sporadic all weekend so far, so we'll see.
Well, as we know, only fools and tourists predict the weather. And people in very nicely bespoke suits. No offense to weathermen out there, and weather ladies, and weather people, and weather stations. I'll just keep digging that hole, Jeff.
I will let you, John.
All right, folks, let me give you your top 10 right now. Danny Stain, of course, out front with a 257.571. Then Blake Clements, 258.088. Christopher Haldeman, the local that we talked about earlier, 258.805. Then Jim Drago, 259.736. Graham Downey, 3-minute flat, .405. Then Adam Roberts, a 3-minute flat, 623. Austin Newmark, 3-minute flat, .735. P8 qualifier, Todd Burris, 3-minute flat, .746. Then Taylor Ferrante with a 3-minute, .980. Then Nick Summers, 301.082. And Preston Pardis was right there as well. But looks like, oh, wow, just had a change. Danny Sufi came in and took that 4th position with a 259.421. So some of the cars are still coming across the stripe. So watch that display, and we'll see what happens if anyone's able to move up the order as we go along and see if anyone can improve on that 257.571. Now, as they go around, we're not seeing a ton of rain right now. So this is rain that came through earlier, and as they go around, that dry line is going to start to dry out because those tires will siphon off the water, the heat. Maybe we'll steam it a little bit. But it is definitely sultry out there. Pretty humid, pretty moist. You can see them hitting the paint. Boy, if any, wow, big differentials in speed that we're seeing on the camera right now. Boy, if you hit that paint, I don't think that, and someone's indicating that they are taking the right-hand line there. Or they're going around the world to the right. Or they're in Germany on the Autobahn, and they are asking the traffic to move over to the right. I've seen that before in videos. Yep, he's still
He's still
move over.
signaling right. I think that might have been a bump of the stock there, John.
Right. Well, honestly, when you're driving in this kind of weather, your hands are big lupo there. Nice car control.
When you want to point somebody by, but it's raining and you don't want to get your glove wet.
Oh, true. You just put on the turn signal.
Right.
Nah, I don't think so. Homie, don't play that.
Well, John, speaking of awesome things from Texas, we had a fantastic time last night. You mentioned barbecue. We had Reggie and his family out here who cooked up some delicious food for everybody last night, and we had a big old party in the media center. And if you weren't here to enjoy it, Dale Watson, he is a heck of a musician. Yeah, they were fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We hung out last night and enjoyed the music. Dale played a lot of outlaw country favorites. And
Danny Stain just improved to a 250. He knocked 2 seconds off.
Hey, look at that.
Look at that.
Well,
Preston
these guys
Pardis moved up.
They are testing stuff out there.
Yep.
You know that we're still looking at the opening laps of this session. They've got 2 flying laps complete. Still about halfway through the session, so there is some time left for the track to dry out some more and for somebody to find that good line and put down a fast lap. I'm excited about this, John. We have more cameras than we've had in years past. We even have we talked about the drone yet?
We haven't.
We have a drone cam, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be really exciting later on during the racing, weather permitting. We are going to be putting up a drone and sending you some live footage from there. So in addition to all the great camera angles that we have out there today, we're also going to have a live movable camera on a helicopter.
Sort of helicopter.
It's a mini helicopter.
Rotary wing, not fixed wing. Although fixed wing would be kind of cool, like one of those military drones, and you could like launch. Never mind. All right, folks. Well, we are about 11 or so minutes into it. I believe we're scheduled for 20 minutes in this session. If you look really carefully, you can start to see a little bit of a dry line starting to clear. Not seeing any fresh precipitation out the window. But we are right on the edge of some pretty icky stuff. So, who knows? Again, I'm not going to predict the weather because people make fun of me. Well, they do already.
Oh, big old drift out of the final corner there.
But look when they get. Oh, look on that.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of sliding and squirming out there.
Hey, baby, a whole lot of sliding going.
Oh,
hey,
there we
Matthew
go. Another
Dirks.
big one.
And now Matthew Dirks, one of our young drivers, the son of David and Michelle Dirks from our Rocky Mountain region, started on our teen program. He has come up. Boy, he banged out a 255.828, so Matthew's on a tear. Still that 250. Oh, actually, Danny Stain improved again to a 254.576. Jim Drago improved, 255.122. So they're slowly ratcheting it up a little bit, but you don't want to go out and stuff the car. Because if you stuff the car now, you don't have a long time to fix it. So you're trying to get a good position, but you're also working not to completely hammer your car into a wall or something like that. But from what the radar looks like, we are just on the edge of a storm. So the drivers in the next session, which are also Spec Miata drivers, may have a better time of it and may be able to improve because the first session, that 30-something cars, has dried out the track for them. Hey, and Dan Williams isn't out there.
Oh, would you look at that?
I'll be darned. So Fast Guy from yesterday is just not present.
Huh. Maybe he went out and came right in. I think he had to be out to click over the timer there, but yeah, that is interesting. No laps clocked. Same with Brian Smith.
He did a Mr. Blutowski, 0.0. All right, well, the top 10 is seeing a little bit of scramble. Greg Porter has moved up into that top 10. Brian Henderson as well. He's running strong yesterday. Adam Roberts is up there. Blake Clements, Matthew Dirks, P6, Haldeman in P5, Graham Downey P4, Burris in 3, Jim Drago in 2, and Danny Stain in the first position still. Nobody's been able to even touch that lap he has. He's 6/10 ahead of the next qualifier.
You know, we talked a little bit about Graham Downey yesterday. He's one of our drivers out here who is, I believe, sort of hoping for rain. He's not super experienced in a Miata. He's an old shoe when it comes to Honda Civics and S2000. I mean, he is really well known for being fast in those cars, but in the Miata, he was having trouble yesterday. He said he started out 24th in his group, and then in the second session, he was able to improve, I believe, up to maybe top 10. Oh. But we see now that he's running in fourth place.
Look what Jim Drago just did. He put 3/10 on Danny Stain. Oh, and then Brian Henderson puts 2/10 on him. Ooh,
well, I think the track is getting faster out there, John, because
yes,
you know our first lap through, everybody was up in the 3-minute mark, and then they all moved down towards 2:55, and now we're seeing down in the lower 250s, 2:54, 2:53. Nick Summers moving up several positions there.
Wow.
And speaking of Graham Downey, he was in fourth and now moving back to 10th place. So
oh boy, we got ourselves an automobile race.
Let's see what happens next time everybody crosses through the line. A few of these guys have not completed their third lap yet.
Now, I guess the best strategy would be to have somebody on the radio telling you what to do, because you don't want to go too hard and stuff the car, but you have to, I mean, it's almost Formula One style, where you are waiting to see what happens with your competitors to know how hard you have to run that next lap. And we are probably getting close to the end of the session.
Yeah, 15 minutes elapsed. I can't imagine they're going to get more than another lap or two out here, John.
Oh, well, actually, I misspoke. It is a 30-minute qualifying session instead of our traditional 20-minute. So they got quite a bit of time left. Now, it's a gamble whether you stay out or come in. That's the question. So Todd Burris right now, our top qualifier, with a 253.894. We're watching for the leaders to come around again across the stripe and see if that gets lowered again by a different driver. You can see it's pretty tricky once you get out on that paint. Here it's great view coming down the front straight. Look at, we can probably go 5 or 6 wide. What do you think?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of room out there. I mean, FIA standard is 36 feet wide, but I believe that front straight has got a few more than that there.
See, now I don't know if I'd be running in a big group of cars in qualifying. I might back off and let them all get away from me for a little bit instead of running in a big group, but I guess that could be super handy down this long uphill front straight to be in a big group of cars. But once you get into the corners, everybody's slipping and sliding. I don't know if you want to be in a train like that 5-car train that we're watching come through right now.
Well, you know, it's sort of nice to be able to see exactly what the track conditions are going to do to the car in front of you. That gives you a little bit of a preview, you know, be it maybe milliseconds, but then, of course, there's the issue where if they spin out, you might cream them.
You follow them into the wall.
Right, exactly.
Not what you want to have happening.
Yeah, John, and it looks like the times are coming down, but they are coming down pretty consistently, all except Danny Stain. Danny Stain had a 2:57 on that last lap that James Drago. Oh, and there he goes back up into the lead.
Well, he heard you.
We see a lot of shakeup as we get the first few
Brian
across
Henderson
the line.
down to 2:52.
But then after they all cleared the line, you could see that the times all dropped pretty consistently there.
So that was a good lap for some of the faster guys.
Yeah, that was.
Because everybody lowered, they're just incrementally lowering the time. So it seems like the best call is to stay out.
Well, the track is getting faster and faster here.
And if you look real carefully, look at this shot right now. You see that inside line? How it's starting to dry off? There's no rooster tails and there's a change in color there. And then you saw that silver car that just went through. As soon as that car got its outside wheels outside that dry zone, immediately sideways. So we are seeing a lot of faster times being set, but the next session may be even faster, unless the rain comes in. We are right at the edge of the front right now. So we are looking at the radar, and just south of Interstate 10, we do have a little kind of rogue cell that may impact us in maybe, probably an hour or so. But very interesting weather in our United States of America this weekend. Have the hurricane working, tropical storm working. So at NASA here, we race in all weather.
That's right, John. The only thing that's going to stop us out here is if we have a visibility issue between the corner workers and the track, because, of course, the course marshals out there, they're responsible for keeping those guys safe. And the moment that the course workers can't see the track anymore, well, it's sort of impossible to maintain a safe environment. The other thing that could stop us out here is lightning. And knock on wood, we don't get any lightning out here, but the Circuit of the Americas does have a state-of-the-art lightning detection system that's set up miles and miles around us. So as soon as there's lightning strikes in the area, we will hear about it.
And it is pretty awesome. I went over and visited both of us did. We visited the control center, and there's a wall of televisions up there with pan, tilt, zoom cameras and access to every single centimeter of this track. Notice I use centimeter because it's FIA. And you can see everything from that control center, so they have everything very dialed in here at the Circuit of the Americas. All right, well, you do see the ticker tape there running through some of the times. Nick Summers is on top still with a 2:52.714. Brian Henderson just 1/10 behind with a 2:52.882. And then Danny Stain with that 2:53.367.
I'd say that's pretty impressive that they're only 10 seconds off of the hot time in the wet.
That's really
good. You know, we were seeing from other groups times, down in the 2:30s or so for their hot dry time, and then they were well over 3 in the wet. So these guys, Miata's definitely.
Big drift. I think that's Danny Stain right there that did that big drift right through the turn 1 camera. There's the outset of turn 1. Looks like someone got freight trained right there. And Harry Voigt now. Where'd he come from? Now he's down to, in P4 qualifier, 2:53.493.
Well, you
Looks
can
like,
see that this past lap here, John, it looks like some of these guys have tried a few things and failed. Looks like Harry Voigt with 302 that last lap, Todd Burris with 306. Maybe
work.
they're trying something out and it didn't work.
Or someone, you know, got loose in front of them. They didn't make it. But Harry actually is one of our teen drivers. He's 17 years old. Rocky Mountain region, started karting at 12 and moved into cars at 15. He also won the Skip Barber Winter Championships at 15 years old. So very talented young man, and that explains why he's up in P4 right now. All right, folks, well, we are about 22 minutes in. I imagine we'll probably end at about 25 minutes shown on the Race Hero display. Nick Summers still up top, 252.714, then Brian Henderson, then Danny Stain, Harry Voigt, Todd Burris, Stephen Zhu, Jim Drago, Peter Ensor, Matthew Dirks, and Justin Krickenberger. That's your top 10 so far in our first qualifying session for the Toyo Classic.
It's funny there, John. Peter Ensor in 8th place is the only person who turned that fast time on this lap.
Wow. And Peter's also one of our young drivers. Because he does have that TMC, which is our Teen Miata Challenge. This was an idea by our good friend, the late Ron Cortez, who passed in January of this year. Ron came up with the idea to bring young drivers up, get them from karts into road racing in these wonderful Mazda Miatas. And of course, that has been a springboard for many of our pro drivers. I think that's Danny Stain again. He's getting real loose. Rear end is coming out on him. So
whoa, they all are through
drifto,
there.
everybody's loose. Well, they got to figure it out because that's going to be the first turn in the race.
Well, you know, that is a big hill, and it's right at the top there, so I can imagine that they're getting some lifting as they get up to the top there. And as they turn in, they're definitely seeing a lot of oversteer. Here we go. Now some fast laps coming in. Matthew Dirks up in first place with a 252.472, beating out Nick Summers'
I'll be darned.
252.512. So we're just taking hundredths and thousandths off at this point, John, but I'd say that's pretty good for a wet course. These guys are really getting it down to the wire here. So Nick Summers, 252.512. Danny Stain with a 252.737, and just as I said that, we had Greg Porter come through the line and set a new fast time, 251.116. That's a lot faster than the rest of them, and look at that right before the checkered flag.
Greg Porter with a 251.116. Oh,
yep,
my gosh.
Yeah, new fast time by over a second there, and that was literally, I mean, it looks like he was the car before the checkered
car. Wow.
Well, I wonder if Greg has a spotter or if he's just incredibly
lucky.
lucky.
Look at the rain.
Oh, it looks like it is coming down out there.
Now, with that coming down, with it starting to pour rain, this may have been the money session.
It's possible. It's possible, or, you know, the rain could just come down a little bit. It might end up being a start just like this session for the next session. It could dry throughout the session, and we could end up with some fast laps at the end, but we'll have to see what this second batch of Spec Miata drivers is going to do here.
Oh, boy. Well, we do have some excitement, folks. A little precipitation coming down. So this was Group A Spec Miata, the Toyo Classic. This was the qualifying session for the big show for Group 1.1. So they will have the other group of Miatas coming out in a little bit. That will be session 1.2. So we're kind of using proper computer version naming here. And that will be the second qualifying session for the second group of Miatas. All right, folks, well, the field is filtering through, so we'll take a quick break here. Again, we are at the 2018 NASA National Championships, presented by Toyo Tires, coming at you from the Circuit of the Americas. Next up will be the Toyo Classic qualifying session 1.2, so we'll see some more times. Keep your eyes peeled to the radar and the monitors. We'll see how that new band of storms comes in and affects the track that just got dried out in this session. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.